The dusty attic of Sandra Hank's home in California held more secrets than she ever imagined. On a warm September afternoon in 2023, while searching through old family photographs, she discovered a weathered leather trunk tucked behind decades of accumulated memories. The brass lock had long since corroded, but the stories contained within were perfectly preserved, waiting to be told. Inside, beneath layers of yellowed newspapers and faded fabric, Sandra found a bundle of letters tied with a faded blue ribbon. They were written in an elegant, flowing script, some in English, others in Ukrainian, dating back to the early 1900s. The letters belonged to her grandmother's mother, Anastasia Kowalenko, a name that had only been whispered in family lore. As she carefully unfolded the first letter, a small photograph fluttered to the floor. The image showed a young woman standing proudly in front of a traditional Ukrainian house, its whitewashed walls and intricate wooden trim unmistakable. On the back, written in careful cursive, Poltava, 1902. Sandra's hands trembled as she began to read the first letter. "My dearest daughter," it began in slightly awkward English. "I write to you from our home in Poltava, where the sunflowers still bloom as brilliantly as the day you left." The words transported her back to a time of great change and courage, when her great-grandmother made the bold decision to leave everything she knew behind. She immediately thought of her brother, Tom. The Academy Award-winning actor had always been fascinated by their family history, but this was something entirely unexpected. As she read further, the story that emerged was more compelling than any Hollywood script. The letter spoke of a young Anastasia, barely 18, who had fled the growing unrest in the Russian Empire. It detailed life in Poltava, a city known for its rich black soil and the battle that had changed the course of Eastern European history 2 centuries earlier. But more importantly, it revealed a secret that had been buried for generations: their family's deep connection to Ukrainian nobility. Sandra reached for her phone, her fingers hovering over Tom's number. How would America's beloved actor react to discovering that his family tree had roots in Ukrainian soil? The story within these letters wouldn't just reshape their family's understanding of their past. It would challenge everything they thought they knew about their identity. As the California sun began to set, casting long shadows through the attic windows, Sandra made a decision. This story needed to be told, not just for her family, but for the thousands of other American families with forgotten Ukrainian connections. She began to carefully document everything, knowing that each letter, each photograph, each piece of this historical puzzle would help reconstruct a narrative that spanned continents and centuries. Little did she know that this discovery would set in motion a chain of events that would not only captivate the public's imagination, but would also lead her brother on an unexpected journey of self-discovery, connecting him with a heritage he never knew he had. The first letter was just the beginning. In the trunk lay dozens more, each one revealing another layer of their family's remarkable story. As Sandra carefully replaced the letter in its envelope, she couldn't help but smile, knowing that their family's story was about to take an extraordinary turn. The sun had almost set completely now, but Sandra couldn't bring herself to close the trunk. There were more letters to read, more secrets to uncover, and somewhere in these pages lay the key to understanding not just their family's past, but perhaps their future as well. Tom Hanks was in the middle of reviewing a script when his phone buzzed with Sandra's call. Something in her voice made him set everything aside. There was an urgency he rarely heard from his level-headed sister. "Tom, you need to sit down for this," she began, her voice trembling with excitement. As she described her discovery in the attic, Tom found himself transported back to childhood memories of their grandmother telling fragmented stories about the old country, stories they had dismissed as mere family folklore. "There's more," Sandra continued. "I've been going through these letters all night, and Tom, our great-grandmother, wasn't just from Ukraine. She was connected to one of Poltava's most prominent families. The Kowalenkos were known for their vast agricultural estates and their patronage of local arts. They helped preserve Ukrainian culture during a time when it was being systematically suppressed." Tom sat in silence for a moment, processing this information. His mind wandered to a conversation he'd had years ago with Steven Spielberg about the power of untold stories. "Send me everything," he finally said. "Every letter, every photograph." Within days, Tom found himself poring over digital scans of the letters in his home office. The story that emerged was like something out of a historical drama. Anastasia Kowalenko, their great-grandmother, had been more than just an immigrant seeking a better life. She was a young woman who had fled not only political upheaval but also an arranged marriage, carrying with her precious family documents and heirloom jewelry sewn into the lining of her coat. One letter particularly caught his attention. Dated 1903, it was written by Anastasia herself to her parents shortly after arriving in America. Dearest Mother and Father, the streets here are not paved with gold, as they say, but they are paved with possibility. Each day I see people from every corner of the world, speaking languages I've never heard. Yet when I close my eyes at night, I still smell the sunflowers of Poltava and hear the songs we sang during harvest. I carry our homeland in my heart, even as I build a new life here. Tom found himself reading this passage over and over. As someone who had portrayed so many different characters throughout his career, he had always believed in the power of empathy and understanding different perspectives. But this was different. This was his own blood, his own story. The revelation began to affect him in unexpected ways. During a dinner with Rita, his wife, he found himself researching Ukrainian cuisine, insisting they try making traditional borscht from scratch. He started collecting books about Ukrainian history, particularly focusing on the Poltava region at the turn of the 20th century. But it was a small detail in one of the later letters that truly captured his imagination. Anastasia's father had written about a family tradition of storytelling, describing elaborate tales told during long winter evenings, stories that had been passed down through generations. Tom couldn't help but wonder if his own storytelling career, his ability to captivate audiences, somehow connected back to those winter nights in Poltava. As news of his Ukrainian heritage began to circulate among close family and friends, Tom received an unexpected call from a Ukrainian film director who had heard about the discovery through mutual acquaintances. The director had an intriguing proposition. Would Tom be interested in narrating a documentary about the waves of Ukrainian immigration to America at the turn of the 20th century? The proposition felt like more than just another project. It felt like destiny. As Tom held one of the photographs Sandra had found, showing their great-grandmother as a young woman standing proud in her traditional Ukrainian dress, he made a decision. This story needed to be told, not just for his family, but for all the families who had similar stories buried in attics and basements across America. Little did he know that this decision would lead him on a journey that would not only transform his understanding of his family's past, but would also connect him to a heritage that would change his life forever. The letters had opened a door, and through it, a flood of revelations was about to pour.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.
The decision to narrate the documentary opened doors Tom never expected. As spring arrived in 2024, he found himself on a plane bound for Ukraine, cameras rolling for what had evolved from a simple narration project into a personal journey of discovery. The documentary team had managed to trace the exact location of the Kowalenko family estate near Poltava, and what they found there would change everything. The estate, though long abandoned, still stood, a testament to the architectural grandeur of pre-revolutionary Ukraine. As Tom walked through the overgrown gardens, a local historian, Dr. Katerina Petrenko, shared a discovery that left him speechless. She had found records indicating that the Kowalenko family hadn't just been wealthy landowners. They had been secret patrons of the Ukrainian cultural renaissance, hosting underground meetings of writers, artists, and political activists in their home. Your great-great-grandfather, Mikhail Kowalenko, Dr. Petrenko explained, leading Tom through what remained of the estate's library, was known for his extensive collection of banned Ukrainian literature. This room once held over 10,000 volumes, many of them rare manuscripts that would have been destroyed if discovered by the authorities. The cameras captured Tom's genuine amazement as he ran his fingers along the weathered bookshelves. In one corner, they discovered a hidden compartment, still sealed after all these years. Inside lay a cache of letters and documents that had escaped the attention of both revolutionary forces and Soviet authorities. Among these papers was a diary belonging to Anastasia's mother, Sophia. The entries painted a vivid picture of life on the estate and revealed the true reason for Anastasia's departure to America. It hadn't just been about escaping an arranged marriage. She had been entrusted with a mission to preserve crucial cultural artifacts that were at risk of being destroyed. Your great-grandmother was incredibly brave, Dr. Petrenko said, carefully translating passages from the diary. She smuggled out not only family jewels, but also rare manuscripts, including original works by Taras Shevchenko that had never been published. Some of these documents could still be in America, possibly among the papers in your sister's trunk. This revelation sent Tom's mind racing back to certain letters Sandra had found, particularly ones that mentioned a special package that Anastasia had been desperate to protect. The diary entries also spoke of a collection of traditional folk songs that the family had preserved, passed down through generations only through oral tradition. As they explored further, they discovered an old photograph album hidden within a wall cavity. The images showed the estate in its prime, grand balls, cultural gatherings, and family celebrations. One photograph particularly caught Tom's attention: a group portrait from 1899 showing Anastasia as a young girl, standing alongside some of Ukraine's most prominent cultural figures of the time. The documentary crew captured Tom's emotional reaction as he stood in what had once been the estate's grand ballroom, now open to the sky through a partially collapsed roof. Here, his ancestors had once hosted gatherings that helped keep Ukrainian culture alive during some of its darkest hours. But the most surprising discovery came when Dr. Petrenko revealed a family tree she had reconstructed through her research. The Kowalenko lineage connected not only to Ukrainian nobility, but also to a legendary Cossack leader who had fought alongside Hetman Ivan Mazepa during the Battle of Poltava in 1709. "Your family's story," she told Tom, "is intertwined with some of the most crucial moments in Ukrainian history." The Kowalenkos weren't just preserving culture, they were actively shaping it. As the sun set over the estate, casting long shadows through its broken windows, Tom sat in what remained of the garden, reading through translated excerpts from the newly discovered documents. Each page revealed another layer of his family's remarkable legacy, and with each revelation, he felt a deeper connection to this land and its people. What he didn't know yet was that the most extraordinary discovery was still to come, a discovery that would not only reshape his understanding of his family's past, but would also have implications for the present-day Ukrainian cultural landscape. The journey that had begun with a simple trunk in Sandra's attic was about to take an even more remarkable turn. Back in California, Tom and Sandra spent countless hours examining digital copies of the documents discovered at the estate. But it was a series of phone calls from various museums and cultural institutions that truly illuminated the magnitude of their great-grandmother's mission to America. The special package mentioned in Anastasia's letters had been divided and distributed among trusted contacts across the United States. Some pieces had found their way into museum collections, cataloged simply as Eastern European artifacts of unknown provenance. Others had been preserved by descendants of other Ukrainian immigrants who had been part of an intricate network of cultural guardians. One evening, while Tom was reviewing footage from the documentary, he received an urgent call from Dr. Petrenko. Her voice trembled with excitement as she explained her latest discovery. "Mr. Hanks, we found something extraordinary in the state archives of Poltava," she said. "There's a collection of musical manuscripts that were thought to be lost forever, compositions that blend traditional Ukrainian folk music with classical elements. They were written by your great-great-uncle, Petro Kowalenko, and they've never been performed in modern times." The manuscripts represented a unique fusion of Ukrainian folk traditions with classical European compositions, a testament to Ukraine's position at the crossroads of East and West. But what made them truly remarkable was their historical context. They had been composed during a period when Ukrainian cultural expression was severely restricted, and they contained coded messages of resistance and hope embedded within the musical notation. Tom's involvement in uncovering this cultural treasure caught the attention of prominent musicians and historians. A renowned symphony orchestra expressed interest in performing these lost compositions, and plans began forming for a grand premiere that would combine classical musicians with traditional Ukrainian folk ensembles. Meanwhile, Sandra made a breakthrough with the papers from the trunk. Hidden within the lining of an old photo album, she discovered a thin notebook containing what appeared to be a cipher key. Working with cryptographers and historians, they realized that many of the family's letters contained encoded information about the locations of other hidden cultural treasures. The revelation sparked a new phase in their journey. Tom found himself working with international teams of researchers and archivists, using the cipher to track down lost artifacts and documents. Each discovery added another piece to the puzzle of Ukraine's cultural heritage that had been scattered across the globe during times of upheaval. The story took an even more personal turn when Tom received a letter from an elderly woman in Chicago. Her grandmother had been one of Anastasia's closest friends in America, and she possessed a collection of recordings made in the 1920s. Wax cylinders containing the voices of Ukrainian immigrants singing traditional songs and telling stories from their homeland. When these recordings were carefully digitized and restored, they revealed something extraordinary. Among them was the voice of Anastasia herself, singing lullabies and folk songs she had learned in Poltava. Tom sat in his studio, tears streaming down his face, as he heard his great-grandmother's voice for the first time, carrying melodies that had been passed down through generations. The documentary project expanded to include these remarkable findings, but it also captured something more subtle, the way this journey was transforming Tom himself. His performances began to reflect a deeper understanding of heritage and identity. In interviews, he spoke passionately about the importance of preserving cultural heritage and the unexpected ways the past can shape our present. But as the project neared completion, a startling discovery in the decoded letters pointed to something even more significant, a hidden collection that could rewrite the history of Ukrainian literature. The letters spoke of a secret library, its contents dispersed across multiple locations in America, containing works that had been thought lost forever. As Tom and Sandra pieced together this historical puzzle, they began to understand that their family's story was more than just a tale of immigration and survival. It was a testament to the power of cultural memory and the lengths people will go to preserve their heritage for future generations. The fourth part of their journey was coming to an end, but the final revelations would prove to be the most astounding yet. The decoded letters contained one last secret, one that would connect their family's past directly to Ukraine's present and future in ways nobody could have anticipated. The premiere of Petro Kowalenko's recovered compositions was scheduled for a warm evening in Kiev's National Opera House. As Tom sat in the front row, surrounded by family, historians, and cultural dignitaries, he held in his hands a final set of decoded letters that would complete the remarkable story of his Ukrainian heritage. The last batch of decoded messages had revealed something extraordinary. The Kowalenko family hadn't just preserved Ukrainian culture, they had created an intricate system designed to reunite scattered cultural artifacts when the time was right. Anastasia's journey to America had been part of a larger plan, one that spanned generations and continents. Hours before the concert, in a private meeting with Ukrainian cultural ministers and international archivists, Tom and Sandra presented their findings. The decoded letters contained detailed instructions for locating and assembling what was described as the Guardian's Archive, a comprehensive collection of Ukrainian cultural treasures that had been strategically distributed across the globe. The archive wasn't just a collection of artifacts, it was a carefully curated time capsule. Different families had been entrusted with different pieces, each preserving their part without knowing the full scope of what they were protecting. The Kowalenko family had served as the secret record keepers, maintaining the cipher key that would eventually bring everything together. As the orchestra prepared for the premiere, Tom received an urgent message from a team of researchers in Boston. They had discovered a hidden compartment in an old Ukrainian church containing exactly what the final decoded letter had described, a catalog listing every piece of the scattered collection and its current location. The catalog was written in an ingenious way. Each entry was split between multiple copies, making it impossible to understand the full content without bringing all the pieces together. The implications were staggering. Hundreds of families across America, Canada, and Europe had been unknowing guardians of pieces of Ukrainian cultural heritage. The catalog would allow these pieces to be traced and reunited, creating what would become one of the most significant collections of Ukrainian cultural artifacts outside of Ukraine itself. As the first notes of Petro Kowalenko's long-lost composition filled the opera house, Tom watched in amazement as the music seemed to bridge the century-long gap between past and present. The piece, titled The Guardian's Promise, turned out to be more than just a musical composition. It was itself a message, with melodic phrases that corresponded to entries in the newly discovered catalog. During the intermission, Tom stepped onto the stage to address the audience. His speech, delivered in carefully practiced Ukrainian phrases interspersed with English, revealed the full scope of what had been discovered. The Kowalenko family's legacy wasn't just about preservation, it was about hope, about believing that one day their culture would flourish again freely. The documentary, now expanded into a series, would tell not just the story of Tom Hanks discovering his Ukrainian roots, but the larger story of how generations of immigrants had served as unwitting guardians of their homeland's cultural heritage. It would become a testament to the power of cultural memory and the unbreakable bonds between people and their heritage. In the final scene of the documentary, Tom stood once again in the ruins of the Kowalenko estate near Poltava. But this time, he wasn't just looking at the past, he was looking toward the future. Plans were already underway to restore the estate as a cultural center, where the returned artifacts would be displayed and studied, where music would once again fill the halls, and where new generations would learn about the extraordinary network of cultural guardians who had preserved their heritage against all odds. As the sun set over Poltava, Tom read aloud from one of Anastasia's last letters to her parents. What we protect today will bloom tomorrow. Our stories, our songs, our very souls are planted like seeds across distant lands, waiting for the season of return. The discovery of Tom Hanks' Ukrainian roots had started with a simple trunk in an attic, but it had blossomed into something far greater, a reminder that cultural heritage, like family ties, can survive any distance and transcend any amount of time. The story of the Kowalenko family had become more than just a celebrity's family tree. It had become a symbol of hope and cultural resilience, a testament to the power of preservation and the enduring strength of cultural identity. As the final credits of the documentary rolled, viewers around the world would learn that the process of reuniting the scattered pieces of the Guardian's archive had already begun, promising new discoveries and connections for years to come. Tom Hanks' journey to uncover his Ukrainian roots had not just revealed his family's past, it had helped unlock a cultural treasure that would enrich the future.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.